Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Govberg, and thanks for logging on. That's right, I said Govberg. I'm wearing my AD hat today, as Arnold Son of La Chaux de Fonds, an independent I regard highly, is a brand that we carry at Govberg Watches. Still, to reach out to me for purchase pricing or delivery, you're going to contact me at Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a model that was launched in 2020 based on a 2016 original. This is the Nebula 38 in stainless steel. It's a watch many do not know exists. A smaller version than the stunning but enormous 2016 Nebula, the 38 is universally wearable while still retaining all of the fine finish and original engineering you associate with Arnold & Son. Now, Arnold & Son, out of La Chaux de Fonds, grew out of a company during the 1990s called the British Masters that owned Graham, Tompion, and Arnold & Son. They had collaborated on a number of movements with a company called Jacquet that became La Joux-Perret. La Joux-Perret decided it wanted to do more than simply act as a white label manufacturer for other brands. La Joux-Perret wanted to make its own watch brand, and that's what Arnold & Son is. A nod and a wink to a classical era of British watchmaking and high horology. John Arnold and his sons lend their name to this modern-day Swiss independent, a brand that only makes about 700 watches a year, but does so with the fit, finish, quality control levels you associate with well-funded brands, as Citizen Watch of Japan finances La Joux-Perret and Arnold & Son, ensuring that unlike some boutique brands, Arnold will always be around to provide parts and service for your watch. So that's the preamble. Let's talk about the watch. 38 millimeters in diameter. It is pretty slim considering only 9.4 millimeters thick with a dial this elaborate, 2 barrels and a 90-hour power reserve. 43.4 millimeters lug-to-lug with a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Put it on the wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and it is super slick. I mean, wearing this watch, it's very similar to a Rolex Datejust 36. It's bigger than a Datejust 36, but from lug to lug, it's actually 1 millimeter narrower across the wrist, meaning I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 13 centimeters circumference. This is a man's watch, make no mistake, but it is a unisex option, and being super flat, it will fit underneath a dress cuff. Taking a quick look at the hardware and the software, a brown, large rectangular scale alligator leather. It has a folded edge, it has a monotone stitch, and you can see on the bottom it is calfskin. It's a brand new Arnold & Son factory strap, and that's how yours would be delivered. The buckle is simple but strong. As you can see, all of stainless steel. The arc of the buckle, the taper of the profile, actually matches the taper of the lugs. Now you can see something here that is not easy to do. There is a satinated lift or satinated raised plinth that uses a contrasting finish to break with the polish of the bezel, the lug hood, and the case band. So you have this lovely sharp break between lug and case band and a sharp break between polish and satination. This is not easy to do, and it speaks to the time and the energy that Arnold & Son puts into finishing just the case. You can also see that the lugs are quite distinctive. Arnold & Son watches, regardless of size, use this case profile, allowing the movement and the dial to define the watch. The distinctive brand design language is always in the case and the lugs. Rolling over to the dial side, this is Arnold & Son caliber AS5101. It is effectively one and the same as the dial. 2 mainspring barrels, manual wind, 21/6 beat rate, 5-position adjustment, which is the chronometer and high horology standard. You'll find chronometers are adjusted in 5 positions, and so is this. The 24 jewel movement, water resistant down to 30 meters, with a 90-hour power reserve, truly impressive. And it's the architecture that makes the most of this watch's technical capabilities. Instead of a solid dial, the movement is brought from the inside out, so you can appreciate all the best elements of a display case back on the dial side of the watch. Note you have individual half bridges for every element of the train leading down to the balance, so everything appears suspended, almost like the stars of a nebula, hence the name of the watch. Now you'll note there is also a contrast between silver finish and nickel anthracite, which is sort of a dark gray, as well as the black finish that is lavished on the movement's skeletonized base plate. I should mention that if you look at the bridge profile on the reverse side, it's actually the base plate, but they appear to be bridges. They have a vaulted arcing profile inspired by the roofs and the buttresses of Gothic cathedrals, and frankly, this watch is worthy of that kind of association by design. As you can see, for example, nods to the pocket watch era of Arnold's construction. We have 18-karat white gold chaton fixing the pivots of both the barrels each featuring solarization graining across their top. There's satin finishing on the wheels, but you can also see that internally the wheels have been beveled and mirror polished. All screw heads are black polished on their tops and chamfered in their slots, a degree of attention to detail you would expect from the likes of, for example, Vacheron, Lange, and Patek. And then you can see that the keyless works here is mirror beveled on its side and satinated on its top. So all these components in steel, very difficult to hand finish. That doesn't mean Arnold & Son shirks its duty. It hand finishes these. As hard as it is to finish steel, not only does it finish steel, but it opens up the keyless works. So you can see a mechanism that is often left unseen by watch brands because frankly they're ashamed of how it looks unfinished. Here it is fully finished, adding to the panoply of visual treats. Now this is a gorgeous movement in every regard, but again, you don't have to take the watch off the wrist to get the most of the fine finish. It's all on the dial side. Reach out to me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.